Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered.
Hello, and welcome to the GSMC Travel Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Stacey.
And I'm your co-host, Sarah.
And though this is not the case by the time you're listening to it, as of recording, we just had the royal wedding between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And on the one hand, yes, very nice, pretty wedding. On the other hand, by the time we got to it, I was so sick of the coverage of it. I was just like... are we done yet? No, it still hasn't happened. Are you sure?
Wow, I also don't spend a lot of time. I don't know. You don't watch TV either. I mean, I don't
No.
really watch TV. I didn't feel that inundated by it. The week leading up to it, I guess there was more, but I didn't really feel.
I did.
I don't know,
because I kept seeing lots of things about it on social media, and I don't even follow things that would this would be part of their business. It just kept coming up as top stories on social. I was like, oh. Seriously, and I don't even remember when they got engaged, but I just remember by February, I was like, is this still not happened yet? we still have, this isn't until May?
You're lucky they didn't do a traditional year-long or, longer engagement. They made short work of that engagement.
Sure, yeah. Relatively speaking, sure. We'll give them that, whatever. But that wedding, because Meghan Markle was an actress, got me thinking about Grace Kelly, who was also an actress who married into royalty. Mm-hmm. And so today we're talking about...
Their dresses weren't really the same, but they just sort of evoked a little tiny bit for some reason. Just the simpleness of...
Grace Kelly's dress... Kate Middleton's dress was more like Grace Kelly's dress. With the lacy... with the... bodice. Yes. Yeah, I don't do dresses, but so I can't really lace and skirts and zippers and whatever that was looked more like Kate Middleton's did. But the actress royalty thing was there, and so I was thinking of Grace Kelly, and Grace Kelly was the Princess of Monaco. So we're going to talk about Monaco.
Monaco, very nice.
Which is a tiny, tiny place. I knew it was tiny. But then I looked it up, and it's so funny. On the Wikipedia page, it has an inset of part of Europe, and then it has this circle of the southern coast of France, and then inside the circle there's this tiny green dot, and that is Monaco.
It's just tinier than Liechtenstein?
It might be. Yeah, it is the second smallest country in the world.
Well, and Liechtenstein was 6th, so yes, it would be tinier.
The only place smaller is Vatican City. So
wow,
yeah, but yeah. So Monaco is a host of sort of things. It's not quite a contradiction, but it's I don't know that I could have just thrown adjectives together and gotten that, but somehow Monaco is there.
Okay.
So Monaco is a sovereign city-state, country, and microstate on the French Riviera.
It's so tiny to be all of those things.
It is. It's an amazing lot of things for such a tiny, tiny place. And it's been sort of ruled by the Grimaldi family since the late 1200s or early 1200s or something. At which point, at one point, it was called the Monaco Rock, because it kind of it's just a tiny, tiny place. It's one of those things where it's just you're fighting over. Okay, sure. I mean, we all got to have our own place to make ourselves king, or what's that saying? Being king of your own castle, whatever. Monaco has a long history of both, belonging to Sardinia and then France and then Italy and then being its own place. Even though it's, again, super tiny. I think it's about 3 miles by 2 miles by like 1,500 feet.
But
not 1,500 feet. That can't be. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, 1,500 feet.
Maybe. I mean,
because it's on the coast.
A little over a mile, right?
Yeah. So it's on the coast, and it's got surrounded on 3 sides by France, and then it has the coastline. And at one point, the coastline comes in much further than at the other post. So it goes from 1,500 to like half that at its width. It's like less than a square mile of an area total. And it has a population of about 38,000.
Wow.
That's just like...
So they're jammed in there.
That's like... I think Berkeley was bigger than that. It was about the same amount of people for students.
Wow. That's amazing. So you could spend even less time, or you would need even less time to explore Monaco than you would Liechtenstein.
You could if you were just going around looking at the land, although if you wanted to do things, you could definitely spend more time, because Monaco, amongst other things, is sort of known as this, like, it's the French Riviera, and all the fancy rich people go there, and Monte Carlo and the Grand Prix, neither of which we're talking about because neither of those things interest me, but it is very hard. It is very hard to think of Monaco without thinking of Princess Grace, and then without thinking of, what is that film that she did in Monaco? Oh,
sure.
Now completely blanking. With Cary Grant, and it was Hitchcock.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That one. We'll figure that out in a moment.
Hold on, looking it up.
With John Roby the cat, but somehow I cannot remember.
Well, you can remember the cat, but...
Well, that was his nickname, was John Roby the cat, because he was a jewel thief. And yet somehow cannot...
Oh, good. Okay, see, I'm not sure I've seen that one. Let's see.
But anyways, you see parts... That's where she met the prince, was what I believe while filming that, or while doing the press for that.
Oh, To Catch a Thief.
To Catch a Thief! I remembered everything but that. Yes. But because of that, it's hard to think of Monaco without thinking of that. And so I imagine a lot of people would want to go to Monte Carlo, which is this very famous casino. And I just don't care about casinos, so I wouldn't. But if you wanted to, you could definitely spend more time than Liechtenstein exploring that, because the casino also has like an opera and a ballet, and then there's the Grand Prix for some reason. I don't do racing. I don't get racing. I can't understand why people... I can kind of understand why people would want to do racing, but it's one of those sports like golf and tennis where I'm like, why are you watching this? Like, really? Of all sports to be watching? Okay.
Well, everyone has different tastes, you know?
They do.
I mean, it's not really my cup of tea, but people like it.
Somehow.
Lots of people don't like to read. We love to read. So I know everyone has different tastes.
So yeah, Monaco, known a lot for the glitz and glamour, has a lot of rich people. So if that's a draw, can that be a draw for a place to go hobnob with the rich?
Possibly, sure.
For some people. Again, those people who would want to go to Monte Carlo or the Grand Prix. In 2014, about 30% of the population was made up of millionaires, more than in Zurich or Geneva, which is interesting because Monaco is one of those places that's sort of known as a tax haven, like Geneva. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have income tax. It has low business taxes. But it does actually have a tax for foreign businesses to sort of discourage them from trying to do that whole crazy tax hiding thing. So it charges 33% corporation tax unless it can be shown that at least 3/4 of the turnover was within Monaco. And it's like, it's so interesting with Monaco because it's its own place, but it falls under French protectorate status or something. So like it barely has a military, and French is basically kind of in charge of any sort of military protection that it would need.
Well, they don't have any people for a military.
Or everybody could be in the military.
Right.
Either or.
From 0 to 906. Okay. I don't know. They just live a long time in Monaco.
Oh, okay. But like Monaco has hosted, beyond the Grand Prix, has hosted a bunch of other racing things, in which there was one where it hosted, I forget which race it was, where all but the very finish was not actually in Monaco, even though Monaco was hosting the race. It went through France and then went through Italy and then ended in Monaco. I was like, on the one hand, that would be amazing, and I could say I went to 3 countries in a few hours. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I don't think that quite counts. But yeah.
Well, if you're hosting it, you can say what you want, and
I mean, I guess you do sort of make the rules.
Yep.
But so yeah, the official language, because they have such ties to France, the official language is French, although they do have their own language, Monegasque. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong.
That's how it looks. Monegasque.
The native people are also called Monegasque.
Okay.
My French, my French is terrible. I apologize. But they also speak Italian and English, so you get that whole sort of, you're in this little mix of the Mediterranean thing going on there. Mm-hmm. But though, actually, interestingly, even though they do have their own native population, most of the people in Monaco are not actually natives.
Yeah, 21.6% are native Monegasque.
Whatever that is.
And then everybody else is a mixture.
Yeah, the largest are French, which, I mean, again, major ties to France, but...
Sure.
How many countries can say that? Like, oh yes, our majority of population is not from this country.
Probably somebody else, but I'd have to look it up, and I don't know.
But interestingly, even though it's, very popular with the rich and millionaires, it's not actually that easy to become a Monegasque. But I guess Monegasques are like if you're born there. So if you just want to become a citizen, you're just a Monacan?
I don't know.
People from Monaco, one of you 38,000 or so, let us know. But that they only let in about like 100 or 150 people a year
to
become
tiny.
Citizens.
They can't let in too many people. They'd overflow.
Well, I mean, they don't necessarily have to. Do you have to live there to be okay, now I'm getting confused.
You want citizenship, but you just want to like snowbird and winter and go there in the winter?
Well, I mean, it's so tiny that you could be a citizen and not actually live there. I might have to live in France, because it's so tiny. I'm sure that, and it's the playground of the rich. So I'm sure that, rent is really high. What if I can't afford rent in Monaco? I might have to go live in France and then work in Monaco.
Monacoian.
Yeah, we didn't quite get there.
Not quite. Nope.
Almost, but not quite. So, yeah. But anyways, because we are, or at least I picked Monaco because royalty and American royalty meets actual royalty. The place I would want to go in Monaco also has to do with the royals. And that is my tease, because right now we're going to take a break. So come back and hear more about royals after this.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back to the GSMC Travel Podcast, where today we are talking about royals and Monaco and rich people and people who do not live to be 906, despite what Sarah says.
They do live a long time, though, with the highest life expectancy of living over 90 years. So I just added a 6.
Oh, is that all?
90,
that's just
906. Same thing.
You added like a multiplication and then a 6. A factor
Not
and then a 6.
Not if you're just writing it
down. True. Yes, if you just typed it out, Sarah only added a 6.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Monaco does still have a royal family, and they're a constitutional monarchy, but they're not a constitutional monarchy in the way the British are a constitutional monarchy. They do actually still have a good amount of power, and especially after Princess Grace married Prince Albert, I believe. Please look that up for me.
Yes.
After Princess Grace married whoever, and therefore brought all this attention to really tiny Monaco, the royal family was sort of raised in esteem. And so
she married Prince Rainier.
I was wrong.
The third. Albert is the current.
Aha. That's where I got Albert.
Married to Charlotte? See, now I'm getting it wrong.
Uh-huh. But anyways, because we're on the royals, the place I'd want to go in Monaco is and I'm going to completely butcher this because I haven't spent enough time with my imaginary Quebecois lover to learn French. I don't yet have an imaginary French lover, so my French is just terrible. I apologize.
Maybe you should get an imaginary French
Monaco?
tutor.
Oh. Well,
That wouldn't be helpful.
would an imaginary French tutor improve my real French?
Sure, it's your world.
I mean, if I had an imaginary French tutor, I'd be a great imaginary French speaker. Mm-hmm. My imaginary French would be off the charts.
Yes.
My real French, however, is terrible. So
the current Princess of Monaco is Charlene, just to throw that out there.
Rainier, Albert, Charlene,
yeah.
We're close.
Whatever.
But anyway, so the place I'd want to go is the Palais Princier de Monaco, I think, which is the royal palace, and the royal family does live there. So there are parts you can't go to because they're still there, and
they don't like you traipsing through their personal space, I would imagine.
I mean, there's that too, but I was also going to think like security reasons.
Well, yeah, that
you
too.
You shouldn't be traipsing through their personal space anyways.
Exactly.
Respect privacy, people. But anyways, you can actually tour the state apartments of the palace, where you can see some of the furniture and the priceless artworks collected by the family over the centuries. Because again, the Grimaldi family since 1200s. And now every time I hear that, I kind of wonder if Monaco was like the basis for Princess Diaries.
I was just thinking that too with Grimaldi and
right?
And yeah,
because that was the name, right?
It was close,
something like that.
You're gonna make me look that up too, huh?
Although I do remember when I watched it, the one guy at one point sings the Genovia national anthem.
Yes,
but it makes me think of "O Canada."
Genovia. Yes.
So I'm like, you're Canada and. Where are you? Where is this non-real place? My non-real geography is confused.
Since it's not real, they just kind of combine stuff.
Yes, all the French-speaking places like Monaco and Canada. That's what it is.
There you go.
I'm sure that's totally what the filmmakers were thinking of.
Totally.
But no, the Monaco Palace, I do not believe was the inspiration at all for the Princess Diaries Palace, because when we see it later, it looks sort of Middle Eastern Europe-ish. But still a very gorgeous palace. And because Monaco is very small, easy to get to, and I believe is like the highest place in the tiny, tiny area of Monaco. But they do sell at the palace passes, sort of, to multiple things. So it's like you can see this place, but also this place, but also this place sort of pass.
Right. The notes about this you'd written combine it with the See, I can't speak today.
You can't.
That museum that has ocean in it. So we're gonna go to the palace and the museum about oceans.
So here was my thought process for this, because I don't yet have an imaginary lover over here. I do have my imaginary Italian lover, so maybe he can come over from Italy for the day and show me around. I'm sure he's been to Monaco a few times.
Sure.
But I would go with my inter-imaginary lover to the palace and sort of look around and sort of pretend like it was our place, kind of in the same way of, what is it? In 500 Days of Summer, they go to IKEA and pretend that's their house. Honey, there's a Chinese family in our kitchen. And sort of pretend around the palace that this is, oh yes, this is my Prince Charming, and this is where we live after we get our fancy marriage, and blah, blah, blah. And then slightly come back down to reality and go to the Oceanographic, which I'm sure that's not how you pronounce that either, museum, because you can get those on the same pass.
Yes.
And then actually see, the other side of Monaco, which is, hey, you're on the French Riviera and you've got all this beautiful, blue water and ocean and the ocean life. Let's come slightly back down to reality and look at the part that's actually more approachable than you living in the Royal Palace. That was my plan, was not reality at all, and then slightly more reality.
Slightly more real. Well, I'm glad that you had
with my imaginary lover.
Yes.
So my grasp on reality is still a little questionable, but I'm progressing. It's baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby stepping.
Hey, since I'm the person that looks stuff up and totally changes the subject all the time, it is Grimaldi. Amelia Mignonette Grimaldi Thermopolis Rinaldo.
Yes. Now, was that based in Monaco?
Well, no, but I mean, you said you thought one of her names was Grimaldi. And...
It was, yeah. Shame on her that she's not from Monaco, because it's also a tiny place where Genovia, the not real place, is.
Right, between France and Italy.
Is it really? Mm-hmm. It's Monaco. It is. I'm putting money on that. It is based off of Monaco. That is totally what it is. Now I'm totally imagining all those like romance novels of you're dating a prince and you don't know you're dating a prince, and I would be dating the prince from Monaco and not know. And my imagination has gone off all over again.
Of course, the current prince is older and married, and then the younger one is like 3.
Wait, isn't there ones in the middle? Or
maybe.
his niece and nephew or something. I think his sister has kids, right?
I think so, yeah.
And before he got married, he didn't have heirs, so it was believed they would inherit.
Right. No, I was just thinking of, like the...
Yeah, not the 3-year-old and not the married one. Mm-hmm. The hopefully real ones closer to my age, hopefully. Hopefully. But yes, to the Oshi thingy museum, which was actually built in 1910, and it's on the edge of a cliff. And I mean, I don't know how... There's not too many places, I suppose, in Monaco that you can build that aren't on the edge of a cliff.
Right.
Unless you build along the France border part. But if you're doing the ocean, I guess you kind of have to be somewhere on the cliff because that's the only part touching the ocean. It was founded by Prince Albert. I think this is where I got Albert from. And it retraces the history of oceanography and marine biology and Prince Albert's contribution to the field, because he was evidently very interested in that, through photographs, old equipment, numerous specimens, and interactive displays. And it has this amazing 6-meter deep lagoon with sharks and marine predators are separated by a coral reef. And you can actually see pictures of this. It looks like you're standing underwater almost. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, yes, this is real and yet not real and yet real.
That's a bit of a contradiction all over the place.
Again, I need my baby steps back to reality. So
okay. So
this
you're
is
taking
I'd be like, I feel this couldn't possibly be real with the water over my head, and yet this is really real. Whereas when I was in the palace with my imaginary lover, that maybe wasn't real, and grasp of reality is all gone again.
I'm noticing a theme in these podcasts. Mm-hmm. There was the monastery that doesn't look real.
Right.
But it is real.
Correct.
There are the imaginary lovers.
Yes.
It's this whole blend of reality and non-reality.
Well, because I haven't yet traveled yet, so all of my travels are imaginary to real places. And so to baby step my way to these real places, I have to do it through my imagination.
All right.
So the other things of my imagination come in.
It's good to have a plan.
Yes. So on that note, we're going to take another short break. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Travel Podcast. The tip for today, which I'd be very interested to see if I could even do somewhere near Monaco. I'm sure I'd actually have to do it like through France or Italy, because Monaco just would have no need for this whatsoever, which is to book overnight transit for a trip that you would have to make anyways to save on hotel fares.
Sure.
So hotel fees. airfares. Hotel fees.
I knew what you meant.
Yes. So, like, I saw this there in China and India, which are near neither of these places, but I just thought these buses were really interesting. There are these buses that have sort of bunks.
I'm just thinking of the night bus from Harry Potter. That's all I can picture. And not the one from the movie, which was weird, but the one I picture in my imagination. No shrunken heads on my night bus.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, this is not quite that. The bunks they look like a mix between, they're like, my best way to describe them is plastic hammocks, which is not helpful. They're structured. They're not actually like just loose swinging hammocks.
Right.
But there's one on the right side and there's one on the left side and then there's a row in the middle.
Oh.
So, but they're also double bunked. So if you ever just do a cross section of the bus, there's 6 people all together there.
Right.
And you sleep in this bus, and the bus I think is only for sleeping, and it takes you wherever over the, 8, 10, 12-hour drive while you're sleeping. And it's like, if I have to make an 8, 10, 12-hour trip anyways, yeah, I might as well get my sleep in. And if I'm going to be sleeping anyways, it might as well be at night.
I agree.
So I think I'd have to take this, like, maybe if I landed on the north part of France and then took a bus overnight to the Monaco part of France, I could possibly do that. Mm-hmm. Or if I landed at the southern part of Italy and took a bus up to the Monaco-ish part of Italy.
I don't know if this is really the trip that you want to plan your overnight trip on. Maybe somewhere that's a bigger country.
Or I could just, somehow hire a bus to just drive me around Monaco all night in loops.
There you go.
While I sleep.
I just don't want to pay for the hotel. Can you just drive me around?
Yeah, that's a bit.
It's awesome.
No, definitely places like, again, in China and Italy, China and India, because, there's large swaths of that country where you might just literally just be traveling and not have any place you would want to stop. It's like, might as well just travel overnight, get my sleep in, wake up and be like, I'm in a totally different city.
Right.
So, yes.
Which makes me think of, like taking a train.
Yes,
obviously.
Trains also do that too.
Yeah.
Trains just feel so classic. Mm-hmm. I want to take it, except I know now trains are probably not as cool as they used to be. But I want to take a train just to get back into that whole classic night thing when trains used to be like the super cool, almost elegant way to travel.
Like, I just think of all the movies from the 50s and 60s where they get on the train. There's a million of them, but off the top of my head, I think of White Christmas. They end up in the club car, but still, I just think, you got to put on your outfit. You've got
yeah. I'm now thinking of the original version of The Women when they go off to Reno for their divorce. And there's the turn down service for the bunk, and she goes and they've got champagne in the club car. Or when we did the movie thing for Murder on the Orient Express, although hopefully not a murder on the train I'm sleeping on.
Right, exactly.
Although I would not be if I could not, that was not believable that he slept through that whole thing, but whatever. Yeah.
But if we're going with the imaginary theme, then I can totally take an imaginary, like, classic train trip.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going somewhere with like an imaginary murder.
No. I'm going with imaginary, like, I can take a train trip. It just wouldn't be quite the same. My train trip will be classic, and there will be crinolines. Because it will clearly be the 50s.
Oh.
If it's my imagination, I'm going with crinolines.
Have at it. All right. And the site for today is Clever Layover, which is sort of the reverse in that you're stuck somewhere, not actually traveling somewhere. But if you are one of those people who is more like not fly by the seat of your pants, but more like open to completely unplanned side trips, Clever Layover would actually be...
Probably not me.
Not me either, but it would be... Clever Layover, I think I would do if I did that sort of yes man thing from the Jim Carrey movie where you just say yes to any opportunity. I would use Clever Layover for that trip solely because it would immediately like offer me, and you can choose how long you want to lay over. So like I randomly put in from where I live to Korea just because I'm still very interested in Korea.
Right.
Both getting there and coming back, you could not do in shorter than 2 days. Mm-hmm. And that's like, it's probably less than 2 days, but because Korea, depending on whether or not we're on daylight savings, is 16 or 17 hours ahead.
Right.
It works out to 2 days where it's like an 18-hour layover here and then coming back like a 23-hour layover here. It's like that I could just, randomly explore this city and say yes to things and be like, oh, by all means, I totally would like to go on a random, salsa dancing lesson. You
just pluck that out of the air.
What would you say yes to? Like random situations that you would normally say no to that you would say yes to?
Oh my. I don't know. I just picture myself like alone and terrified in a foreign city.
See, exactly. The regular me wouldn't do this, not only because I probably wouldn't say yes to things, but because the actual traveling, I hate. I want us to get to teleportation so badly.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Where or since we were on Harry Potter, apparating, where I could just, magically appear somewhere and then go explore the city. The having to travel for hours and hours thing, I hate.
My husband would be one of these people who would totally do a clever layover, and he would meet like 16 new people and know their life stories, and one of those new people would be from the city we were laying over in and would know this fabulous place, and off we would go, and I would just be like trailing along going, ah.
Yeah. Or if I was like in a foreign country and was being forced to come home for some reason. And it'd be like, okay, I'll book my trip home and then do clever layover.
I'll be home in a week, okay?
Right? I will be home, by the end of the month or whatever. Because I have an 8-day layover in this city. And then I actually have a second layover for a week over here. So I'll be home, I'll literally be home before Christmas.
We're in California, so you could lay over somewhere in the middle of the country.
Right.
If you wanted to drag it out even further.
Exactly. So if you are one of those people who's like, I totally want to go with things that weren't necessarily planned, but I like that about traveling. The best parts of traveling happen when things that I wasn't planning on come and surprise me, and they happen to be awesome. Clever layover would probably be a good site for you. Although they do warn, the whole point of clever layover beyond the exploring new cities is to save you money. But because of that, you're often hopping, not even on the same airline. You'll fly one airline into the city and then fly a different airline from the city. So if you miss somehow, if one flight's delayed and you miss it, you'd probably have a hard time because you're doing it with two different airlines.
Right. And I can also see where this, it's supposed to be saving you money, but depending on the length of your layover and what you decide to do, you could go out and exploring and spend easily money, on lots of things. So plus baggage fees and all that good stuff, unless you're carrying on.
Right. I kind of now want to plan a trip on Clever Layover that doesn't actually specifically go anywhere. That just layovers in different places and then come back.
Hop.
Yeah.
I like it. You plan it and then tell me what it is.
All right. I will do that. And on that note, we're going to end for today. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Travel Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From travel to health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast.